Welcome, welcome everyone. Please have a seat. Esteemed guests and honorees, to say that it is my honor and pleasure to be seated amongst you today would be an understatement. To me, the Zayed Award for Human Fraternity is the essence of what the climate fight and indeed the fight against any global crises should be all about. Reaching and supporting the people on the front lines and standing in solidarity with the most vulnerable. The purpose of Human Fraternity is to achieve international cooperation to solve international problems. It is to promote and encourage respect for human rights and fundamental freedoms for all. And with faith and a deep understanding and coordination and commitment to interfaith dialogue, I believe that this can be achieved. This is why I am delighted that for the first time in 30 years of climate talks at COP28 in the UAE, faith finally has a venue. The convergence of faith and environmental action signifies a recognition that the climate fight and the climate crises is not just a scientific or a political fight. It is also a moral issue as well. Before starting our discussion with our inspiring speakers, I would like to invite you to watch a short 2-minute video. Please enjoy.
The Zayed Award for Human Fraternity was inspired by the signing of the document on human fraternity. This extraordinary document calls upon the people of the world to rediscover the values of peace, justice, goodness, beauty, human fraternity, and coexistence.
It's the reason why we recognize outstanding people and organizations each year, whose work changes lives and inspires hope.
I'm feeling inspired by this award to move on and to make sure that human solidarity wins the battles that we are facing.
الأخوة الإنسانية هي الحل الأكثر فعالية في مواجهة هذه الظاهرة، لأنه العالم يحتاج أن يكون يدا واحدة ويحتاج أن يكون متضامن، ويحتاج أن يكون هناك توافق وتكاتف من كل فئات المجتمع حتى يمكن مواجهة تغير المناخ بشكل جدي وبخطوات فعالة تسهم في التخفيف من الآثار السلبية لتغيرات المناخ.
I do believe that we have today a chance through this Zayed Award of Human Fraternity to recognize the work of an important individual or an important institution to serve as an inspiration to all the people around the world.
As women, we are full of circle within ourselves. And with a little help, we can create, nurture, transform, and reform.
Very inspiring indeed, and I think you will recognize our speakers from this very inspiring video. So please first allow me to introduce our first inspiring speaker. Shamsa Abubakar Fadhil is a Kenyan peace mediator and community mobilizer and the 2023 Zayed Award for Human Fraternity co-honoree. Known as Mama Shamsa, she is being recognized for nurturing youth in her home country and saving young people from lives of violence, crime, and extremism. She has transformed the lives of over 10,000 youths. Again, 10,000 youths, diverting them away from a life of crime and juvenile delinquency. Ladies and gentlemen, Mama Shamsa.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuhu. God is good all the time, and all the time God is good. I have a small speech here. Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed delegates and fellow advocates for climate justice, I stand before you today not only as a recipient of Zayed Award, but as a woman from Kenya, a land bearing the brunt of climate change with resilience, tested earlier this year. The longest drought ever witnessed, and now, right now, ongoing, the raging flash floods. I hail from a region where climate-induced community conflicts erupt as we grapple with the diminishing resources, primarily water and diminishing fisheries in Mombasa County, from the arid landscape of Kenya to the far reaches of the global south. The impacts of climate change are felt mostly accurately by those who bear the least responsibility for its causes. Climate change is not an abstract concept. It is a stark reality in the lives of countless people, pushing them to the brink of survival. Our shared fates teach us the profound principles of justice and compassion. In the face of climate injustice, we are called upon to stand in solidarity with the most vulnerable. We are compelled to speak for those who bear the scars of environmental degradation, erratic weather patterns, and resource scarcity. Climate justice is not a distant goal. It is the moral imperative of our time. It is the call for equity and fairness in addressing the global climate crisis. Those who have contributed the least to the problem are often the ones who suffer the most. It is our collective duty to rectify this injustice. Climate change poses a profound threat to human security by disrupting ecosystems, altering weather patterns, and exacerbating extreme events. Socially, vulnerable populations often bear the brunt of these impacts, facing increased risks to health, livelihood, and cultural heritage. Economically, climate-induced disasters can lead to the loss of assets and infrastructure, especially in regions dependent on agriculture and natural resources, as my country. The unequal distribution of these impacts amplifies existing social disparities and can contribute to migration, displacement, and conflict. Let us recognize that climate change is not a challenge that respects borders or distinctions of nationality. It is a universal crisis that requires united, unwavering, and faithful commitment. Our faiths teach us that we are all custodians of this earth, irrespective of our geographical origins. In this spirit, we must rally together to address the root causes of climate change and its devastating effects. In our Holy Quran, chapter 2, verse 30, there is human responsibility on earth. Remember when your Lord said to the angels, I'm going to place a successive human authority on earth. By being given that authority, it does not mean you do bad. You have to take care. Being in authority means you take care. Being in authority means you do justice. Through the Zayed Award for Human Fraternity and Interfaith Platform, we have demonstrated on several occasions how faith communities can use their beliefs, values, and actions to address the existential threat of climate change. We thank organizers that this scope we have our faith pavilion. It is a first time, and let us clap for ourselves. To call for the integration of faith-based approaches in climate policies and implementation. I have an initiative in Kenya called the Zayed Micro Enterprise Seed Support Grant for Community Groups. It is an initiative led by local and women through shared inspiration, human fraternity, and compassion, influenced by a close collaborative effort with Zayed Awards for Human Fraternity. As a project deeply rooted in providing alternative livelihoods to the youth and women, while impacting communities on climate justice, this work has influenced the inclusion of all communities to take charge in addressing climate change and its effects. With our initiatives, we do beach cleanups and mangrove planting. We also adopt several trees and nurture them to fruition as a simple test to addressing the vices of climate change. We have partnered with various like-minded institutions to supply seedlings to cross-institutions, learning centers, religious institutions, and local groups, amongst others. The efforts are combined with building alternative dispute resolution mechanism through an early warning, early response mechanism. Youths are at risk of joining extremist groups due to the harsh conditions of climate change, leading to job losses and high unemployment. Zayed Micro-Enterprise Seed Support Grant for community groups in collaboration with Zayed Awards for Human Fraternity has directly supported over 200 grassroots community groups access to in-kind capital to start or expand their businesses. Among those 240 groups directly engaged in climate justice and food security. Impacted groups include those involved in tree planting, garbage collection, forest presentation, and value addition to products. The flooding across the country is rendering communities homeless, adding to and widening the gaps of poverty and joblessness. The problem is there are no clear policies or strategies to mitigate these effects. Youths are the majority globally, and the power for any developing country belongs to them. As Zayed Micro-Enterprises Support Grant, we are using the power of artivism, use of art as a tool for social change, to encourage and embrace communities to embody the cultural role of good practices to build compassion in the human fraternity. We also mobilize food support to address the immediate community concerns as we assist them in looking for alternative means of nutrition. Climate change is not about addressing the ozone or carbon mitigation only, nor is it about the political space, but has an array of other pressing sides plates to economic, cultural, and social norms. In our Holy Quran, chapter 21, verse 32, we are told about preserving the ozone layer. And we made the sky a protected ceiling, but they from its signs are turning away. The emissions are affecting us. Zayed Micro-Enterprises Support Grants calls upon like-minded development environmentalists, embassies, and partners to join us in addressing the pivot of human fraternity and compassion to climate change through the Zayed Award for Human Fraternity. The call for climate justice is a call for solidarity, resilience, and a shared vision for a sustainable future. It is a call to uphold the dignity and rights of all those affected by the climate crisis. Together, we can build a more just world where the burden of climate change is shared equitably and where the most vulnerable are supported in their journey towards resilience and prosperity. We call for the full operationalization of the loss and damage funding arrangement and the global goal of climate adaptation. These are pertinent issues to the faith family here at COP28. As we gather here at COP28, let us not forget the voices of those in Kenya who are right now homeless because of the raging floods, and the global south, and everywhere that faces the relentless impacts of climate change. Let us pledge to take meaningful action to reduce emissions and to support communities in adapting to the challenges they face. Let us be true in fast-tracking the energy transition and slashing emissions before 2030. We do this by making this COP28 the most inclusive ever, that puts nature, people, lives, and livelihoods at the heart of climate action. In conclusion, let climate justice be our guiding light, illuminating the path to a sustainable and equitable future. Together, we can ensure that our faith in justice and compassion extends to all those affected by the global climate crisis. Thank you, and may our united efforts bring about the change that is so urgently needed. As I wind up, the perfect creation. Verily, all things we have created in proportion and measure. Quran, chapter 54 and 49. Allah has created everything on this earth with its intricacy, making it completely perfect. This serves as a timely reminder to those who are changing the perfect world created by Allah through land reclamation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mama Shamsa. This very insightful speech about the amount of danger that climate change causes and real-life examples from Kenya. Please allow me, ladies and gentlemen, to introduce our next honorable speaker, Judge Mohamed Abdelsalam, the Secretary General of the Zayed Award for Human Fraternity. Judge Abdelsalam served as the former advisor to the Grand Imam of Al-Azhar, Dr. Ahmed Al-Tayyib, for over 8 years and assisted in drafting the document on human fraternity signed by the Grand Imam and Pope Francis in Abu Dhabi in 2019. The same year, Pope Francis awarded Judge Abdelsalam the Order of Pope Pius IX, Knight Commander, for his services towards spreading tolerance and interfaith dialogue. Please welcome Judge Abdelsalam's speech. Just wanted to mention that this speech will be, to my delight, in Arabic. So for anyone who needs a translation, please put on your headphones and you can adjust the volume from the device. Thank you.
Thank you, Lina. Thank you. شكرا. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. شكرا جزيلا. Is work, Mama Shamsa? Work? Okay. Good? Okay. في البداية أرحب بحضراتكم جميعا في هذه المنصة التي تعنيكم وتعنينا جميعا، منصة جناح الأديان. وأرحب بشكل خاص بماما شمسة، هذه الأيقونة المتميزة في إبراز النموذج الذي يمثل وصول الأخوة الإنسانية إلى الأرض، إلى المجتمعات، إلى الضعفاء والناس البسيطين الذين يعيشون في مجتمعات بسيطة تعاني، ولكنها تمثل الأخوة الإنسانية في أبرز معانيها. شكرا لوجودك معنا اليوم ماما شمسة، وهذا العناء السفر أتمنى أن يكون خفيفا بهذه المشاركة. أيضا شريك الكفاح ورفيق الدرب أخي أداما ديانج، هذا الرجل الذي يعمل معنا منذ بدء هذه المسيرة بإخلاص وجد واجتهاد. Thank you Adama to be with us today. وأشكركم جميعا على مشاركتكم لنا وصبركم علينا. أشكرك حضرة المطران، أنت أيضا تمثل الركن الكبير في مسيرة الأخوة الإنسانية، قداسة البابا فرانسيس الذي كل يوم نصلي من أجله ومن أجل أن يسترد عافيته وصحته ويواصل مسيرته في تعزيز الأخوة الإنسانية. صديق العزيز نوري، thank you very much to be with us today. ونحن سعداء لأنك حريص وتكبدت عناء السفر لتكون معنا وتشارك هذا الجناح المهم. جائزة زايد للأخوة الإنسانية ليست مجرد جائزة عالمية قدرها كبير، وزنها ثقيل، قيمتها مؤثرة، ولكنها هي حالة. جائزة زايد للأخوة الإنسانية استطاعت أن تحول نفسها من مجرد جائزة عالمية إلى حالة من الحراك العالمي والتجاذب والتفاعل مع الأحداث، حتى أصبحت في وقت قصير للغاية تمثل منصة عالمية مهمة لتعزيز ودعم وترسيخ وترويج قيم الأخوة الإنسانية، خاصة أن هذه الجائزة تسند ظهرها إلى أهم وثيقة في التاريخ الحديث، وثيقة الأخوة الإنسانية. هذه الوثيقة التي وقعها الإمام الطيب والبابا فرانسيس في أبو ظبي في 2019، وبالتالي هي ليست كأي جائزة. ثانيا أيضا لأن هذه الجائزة تحمل اسم رمز عظيم. فيما أعلم لا توجد منطقة في العالم إلا وأثر هذا الرمز امتد إليها بالخير. الشيخ زايد آل نهيان رحمه الله، هذا الرجل الذي لم يكن فقط قائدا سياسيا ولكنه كان قائدا إنسانيا بامتياز، كان حكيما في حبه للناس وفي مشاركته الخير مع الناس. جائزة زايد للأخوة الإنسانية أيضا حريصة أن تمثل دائما منصة لتلاقي وتبادل وتلاقح الأفكار حول التحديات الإنسانية التي تواجهنا. واليوم تشارك جائزة زايد في أن تمثل دعما وقوة روحية، وأن تمثل أيضا مساحة داعمة ومشجعة للجهود العالمية في مواجهة أكبر تهديد يواجهنا اليوم ويواجه البشرية، ويتخطى كل فروقات الدين واللون والعرق والجنس، وهو تحدي وتهديد تغير المناخ. والحقيقة أنا فخور للغاية أن هذه الجائزة أيضا الذين توجوا بها خلال الدورات السابقة هم من البارزين جدا عالميا في مجال مواجهة تغير المناخ. فالجائزة فاز بها البابا فرانسيس والإمام الطيب. البابا فرانسيس كلنا يتابع جهوده ومكافحته وقتاله من أجل الحفاظ على الكوكب، فأصدر عدة وثائق مهمة للغاية، وشارك معنا في مجلس حكماء المسلمين رغم ظروفه الصحية على توقيع نداء الضمير من أجل المناخ، بيان أبو ظبي المشترك بين الأديان من أجل المناخ، الذي وقعه رموز ممثلين عن كل الأديان الموجودة على ظهر الأرض في 6 نوفمبر. واستكمل هذا التوقيع بتوقيع البابا فرانسيس يوم 3 ديسمبر الماضي، حين احتفلنا بتدشين جناح الأديان رسميا. أيضا الإمام الأكبر شيخ الأزهر الذي يقود جهودا كبيرة من خلال واحدة من أهم الجامعات وأكبرها في العالم الإسلامي، فعقدوا عديد من المؤتمرات لتقديم رؤى علمية وإنسانية وعالمية لتغير المناخ. وأيضا شارك الإمام الأكبر ورعى من اليوم الأول، لأن مجلس حكماء المسلمين كما تعلمون هو يترأسه فضيلة الإمام الأكبر شيخ الأزهر، وهو الذي قاد ودعم وأنشأ هذه المبادرة، مبادرة اجتماع قادة الأديان من أجل توقيع نداء الضمير من أجل المناخ. وأيضا شارك الإمام الأكبر يوم 3 ديسمبر في نفس اليوم بتوقيع نداء الضمير، وأعلن هذا للعالم. أيضا الأمين العام للأمم المتحدة هو واحد من أهم داعمي ومجاهدي تغير المناخ. لا بد أن نستخدم كلمة الجهاد فيما جاءت من أجله لدعم الخير والعدل والسلام للشعوب وللناس، وليس للقتل وإزهاق الأرواح كما صور البعض ذلك بالكذب والافتراء على الإسلام. أيضا في نفس العام الذي فاز فيه الأمين العام للأمم المتحدة كان هناك أيضا ملك الأردن وزوجته، وهم يبذلون جهودا كبيرة في هذا المجال في دعم فئة من الفئات الأكثر تضررا من تغير المناخ، وهم اللاجئين، فاستحقوا هذه الجائزة بسبب أنهم فتحوا بيوتهم وبلادهم وديارهم للاجئين من حول العالم. هناك أيضا مؤسسة الحرية والمعرفة فوكال من هايتي، وهي من الدول الفقيرة جدا في نصف الكرة الأرضية الغربي، ولكن هذه المؤسسة كان من أهم المؤهلات التي أهلتها للفوز بالجائزة هو عملها البيئي ودعمها للمزارعين وتوفير الأمن المائي والغذائي للآلاف ومئات الآلاف من الفقراء الذين يعانون والذين يشتغلون بالزراعة. أيضا مؤسسة سانتي إيجيديو وماما شمسة. ماما شمسة كما ذكرت هي مجاهدة من أجل العدالة ومن أجل السلام ومن أجل الأخوة الإنسانية، ولكنها أيضا تبذل جهودا، ونحن نعزيك ماما شمسة ونتضامن معك ومع كل الشعب بكينيا في الفيضانات المدمرة التي شهدتها بلادك خلال الأيام الماضية، ونحن فخورين أيضا بالجهد الذي قمت به ولا زلت تقومي به من أجل التخفيف عن معاناة شعبك جراء هذه الفيضانات الكارثية. وأنا تابعت بنفسي كل هذه الجهود الكبيرة التي قمت وتقومين بها. أيضا مؤسسة سانتي إيجيديو هي مؤسسة عظيمة لا زالت تعمل بجد وإصرار، ولديهم مشروع كبير كامل عن التضامن البيئي، وهذه المؤسسة التي تستحق دائما كل التحية والتقدير لاستمرارها ومكافحتها وجهودها من أجل مواجهة التحديات التي تواجه الإنسانية. فهي تعمل في حوار الأديان، وتعمل في ملف البيئة، وتعمل مع اللاجئين والمهاجرين والمشردين، وأيضا تعمل على حماية الأطفال، وتعمل في مجال الفقر. نحن فخورين بأن هؤلاء هم أعضاء عائلة جائزة زايد للأخوة الإنسانية. إنهم عظام للغاية في العالم، إنهم رموز مهمة يتفاعلون من أجل تحديات البشرية دون أي مصلحة أو أجندة سياسية. كما ذكرت ماما شمسة، نحن لا أقول فقط في الدين الإسلامي ولكن في كل الأديان دعت إلى الحفاظ على البيئة، وأكدت على مسؤولية الإنسان في الحفاظ على هذه البيئة، وأن هذه البيئة هي أمانة نحن مستخلفين ومؤتمنين عليها، وينبغي ويجب علينا أن نترك هذه الأمانة نظيفة نقية لأبنائنا في المستقبل. لا أريد أن أطيل عليكم، فأنا متشوق للاستماع إلى زملائي وأشكركم. شكرا لنا. Thank you.
شكرا جزيلا معالي المستشار. Thank you very much, Judge Abdelsalam. Our next honorable speaker, ladies and gentlemen, is Adama Dieng, the former UN Special Advisor on the Prevention of Genocide. Mr. Adama served as envoy of the UN Secretary General to Malawi to mediate between the government and pressure groups. He was the driving force behind the establishment of the African Court of Human and People's Rights and produced the draft of the African Convention to fight corruption. He led many fact-finding missions on human rights and the rule of law, as well as trial observation missions. Mr. Adama, please go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you very much, my dear sister. Brothers and sisters in humanity, I'm really someone who can say I'm privileged. I'm privileged because from day one, when I got the chance to meet my younger brother, Mohamed Abdelsalam, and that was in New York, with a delegation sent by His Holiness Pope Francis and the Grand Imam of Al-Azhar. Since that day, I was able to witness here in the United Arab Emirates the work which has been done by the leaders of this country. And it is no surprise when we heard from Mama Shamsa to really discover what Sheikh Zayed, the name of his who carried this award, was doing. Unlike many people, many leaders around the world, his main aspiration was to bring happiness to the people of his country. And those of us who have been traveling in this country can confirm that he has achieved that goal. And listening to Mama Shamsa, we can but simply say that we are able to confirm that this great document, which was signed here in Abu Dhabi by His Holiness Pope Francis and the Grand Imam of Al-Azhar should become really our daily book, like the Bible and the Quran, to inspire us, because it is a reminder of the scriptures. So let me say that Human Fraternity is all about compassion, solidarity, unity, and love. It is a great antidote to the intolerance the world increasingly is facing. Building a greener world requires a world of change. But here, action starts at the local level, within a community committed to the protection of the universe. Even before the delivery of effective action is expected by industrial conglomerates or member states, the Human Fraternity play its role in pressing for environmental protection. The world is approaching a point of no return. Our planet is dangerously close to destroying itself beyond repair when it comes to global warming. But we must all recognize the impact that industry, its factories, our way of life, in short, humanity, has had on the planet. Even if in saying this, we must highlight the imbalances and climate injustice in the world. Either way, the world must change its habits to preserve the resources shared by the billions of the Earth's inhabitants and for future generations. Our fragile planet will indeed be affected by the decisions we make now. If we intend to plant the seeds to build the bridges to a greener future, the first order of business would be substantially invest in education and awareness while combating misinformation from climate deniers. It is about teaching and promoting the idea that protecting the environment is a good and necessary thing. It is not just about eliminating waste or reducing global emissions. We also need to train advocates for the future and encourage individuals and communities. While it is true that global entities and large corporations must do their part to ensure that their developments are green and sustainable, every little action at the community level helps create a better future. Human Fraternity should strive to educate and promote green ambassadors as a new way of life. Employers and employees would commit to adopting new practices focused on protecting the environment and transferring ecological benefits to future generations, mainly through education. If people adopt a positive attitude towards a greener world, the impact on environmental preservation could be greater and lasting. A new global culture can begin a transition to a global economic model that will slow climate change, create new jobs, boost new green energy, and scale and impact of the Industrial Revolution. But the rewards from climate change awareness and positive environmental processes will not be only economical, since the Human Fraternity also embodies compassion, solidarity, unity, and mutual respect. In the family of nations, the most powerful must respect the most fragile. Thus, small island developing states and other regions inland are among the most vulnerable to climate impacts, presenting the world with an immense challenge. The real existential threat posed by sea level rise facing vulnerable island and developing states cannot be ignored by the international community. If we remain so relatively inactive, the world will continue to witness more drought and floods, more wildfires, more heavy rains, more natural disasters erupting here and there with vengeance, and more of all, these unexplained natural disasters will further erode livelihoods, increase uncontrolled migration at a level not seen before, and further compromise global security. Human Fraternity can promote remedial measures so that the global community effectively moves towards investing in climate-resilient development with specific investment in education, climate financing at the appropriate levels, and the pursuit of an equitable global climate justice system. All the international agreements reached so far, including the Paris Agreement, will amount to nothing if the fundamental concept underlying climate change are divorced from the need for peace, prosperity, progress, and sustainability for all. Some countries and communities cannot hope to continue the path of progress on their own, while other countries and communities are left behind or remain mired in conflict, underdevelopment, and lack of prospect for prosperity. We are all in this together. The seeds will have to be planted for all, and the harvest will be reaped by all. Effective climate and environmental action would therefore build stronger bridges between peoples and between nations. In the valley of our hopes, we will all drink from the same springs of water and reap the fruits of the same seeds. Inaction or lack of investment in education and climate financing could allow fires or floods or destructive winds to take a turn that will not discriminate between rich and poor, between the powerful and the vulnerable. These adverse climates would erode the humanity in us as the world would continue to compete for scarce and depleting resources. Brothers and sisters in humanity, the seeds of tomorrow must be planted today. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Adama. These were very inspiring speeches. I think we can all agree. For the sake of time, we only have a few minutes left, but I wanted to keep some time so I can ask you, each of you, some specific questions. Mama Shamsa, I would like to start with you. As Judge Abdelsalam has mentioned, as we speak, rains in Kenya are causing deadly flooding. And this chaotic weather, by the way, stems from the El Nino Southern Oscillation, which is a weather event that occurs naturally and irregularly every 2 to 7 years. So this is a fact that I'm telling you so we can really understand the effects of climate change. So Mama Shamsa, I wanted to ask you specifically, in your experience on the front lines in Kenya, how has climate change affected your community and the people closest to you?
It's a very sad situation, very devastating because lives have been lost. I come from a sub-county called Nyali. We have 6 sub-counties in my county. I'm not talking even about the whole of Kenya. I will talk only about my sub-county, where I'm seeing myself. The other areas I'm reading from the news. In my area, 3,000 people have been left homeless. Okay, we live near the ocean, and a lot of people living in my area are from slum areas. Most of the people right now, as we are talking, have been accommodated in churches. and mosques and camps, waterborne diseases have erupted. We have a problem with the drainage system, a very big problem. So when I talk about the drainage, feces, urine is mixed everywhere. You can see feces floating. It's pathetic. We need help. Not about my sub-county. We need help in Kenya. Thank you.
Thank you, Mama Shamsa. Mr. Adama, you mentioned the crucial importance of investing in education and awareness to create more advocates for the future and for climate change and people who can transform their communities, much like Mama Shamsa. My question to you is, how can we create more of these individuals? How can we create more Mama Shamsas and reach them? I'm just going to pass this mic along to you. Oh, do you have one? Okay, great.
As a member of the jury in 2021, we honored another lady called Latifa bin Zlatan from Morocco, whose son was killed while rescuing, an attack against someone who was from the Jewish community in France. So she went to visit the mother of that person, the perpetrator of that crime, to try to understand how this came about. And she realized at the end of the day, as I always argue, that no one is born terrorist. One is made terrorist. And therefore, I strongly believe that by showing role model like Mama Shamsa, like Latifa bin Zlatan, we can inspire the young people around the world. And that is why education to human fraternity is one of our also important goal we would like to achieve. Because at the end of the day, education, as Nelson Mandela used to say, is the key to solve the problems of our planet. And I remain convinced that with the continuing support of the UAE authorities, we will continue to really carry the message of Sheikh Zayed, to carry those values he embodies, and so that we can make the world different as it is, particularly at a time where those who profess multilateralism are undermining that multilateralism, as we can see through the war in Ukraine or through the crimes which are now being committed in Gaza, and which, as a former special advisor on the prevention of genocide, I can say that we are close to a genocide, and we cannot allow that to happen. The never again should be really sounded all around the world, that we stop what is happening today in Gaza.
Thank you very much, Mr. Adama. That's a very important statement right there. I'm glad you brought it up. Going back to Human Fraternity, and I think Judge Abdelsalam, I wanted to ask you this question very specifically as a big part of this organization. How do you think Human Fraternity can positively impact the fight against climate change, and what is the role of community leaders in this crisis, in your opinion?
شكرا جزيلا لينا. أعتقد أن أنا جاوبت على هذا السؤال خلال مداخلتي، ولكن أود أن أقول أنه تغير المناخ، دعونا نتفق أن تغير المناخ هو تحدي كبير يواجهنا، ونحن رأينا خلال هذه المسيرة، مسيرة مواجهة تغير المناخ، وجدنا في وقت ما كان هناك حديث فقط على مستوى القادة السياسيين، لم نجد أي أثر للمؤسسات المجتمعية، لم يكن هناك دورا حاضرا للرموز والقيادات الدينية. أعتقد أنه فكرة التضامن العالمي، فكرة التكاتف، فكرة هذه التحديات التي تتجاوز اختلافات الدين وكل أنواع الاختلافات تحتاج منا جميعا أن نتعامل كسكان لبيت واحد، كركاب لسفينة واحدة، لأنه إذا هلك البيت فسيهلك على الجميع، وإذا هلكت السفينة سيغرق الجميع. فكيف يمكن أن تلعب جائزة زايد للأخوة الإنسانية أو الأخوة الإنسانية دورا مهما؟ أنا أؤمن أن الأخوة الإنسانية تعني المسؤولية، تعني التضامن، تعني أن يشعر الإنسان بمسؤوليته تجاه الآخر. الشعور بالمسؤولية تجاه الآخر هو أهم ركن فيه، هو أن تترك لمستقبلك ولأجيالك ولأطفالك بيئة يستطيعون العيش فيها بسلام. هذه الحروب التي أشار إليها أداما سواء المنتشرة حول العالم أو مؤخرا في فلسطين، الإمام الأكبر قال كلمة في مداخلته في افتتاح جناح الأديان، كلمة كانت مؤثرة للغاية. قال: إذا استمرت هذه الحروب بهذا الشكل فلن يتبقى لنا بيئة نحافظ عليها أو مناخا نتركه نظيفا لأبنائنا ولأجيالنا في المستقبل. أعتقد هنا والآن وقبل الغد نحن بحاجة إلى أخوة إنسانية حقيقية حتى يمكن أن نواجه تحدياتنا المشتركة ومنها تغير المناخ. شكرا.
شكرا معالي المستشار، شكرا جزيلا. Mama Shamsa, I'm going back to you now. You mentioned that the youth are in danger of joining extremist groups because of climate change, and this was very interesting to me. In your experience, how big is this danger from what you have seen, and how are you using your profound influence on your community to educate the youth on climate change and get them involved in impactful climate initiatives?
Thank you for that question. We are facing joblessness in my country, and the youth bulge, I think right now is standing at 83%. Our youths have lost hope. Our youths have lost trust. We have so many youths working with degrees but no jobs. And we have an array of divorce rates. The divorce rate in my country is very, very high. Unemployed youths are very many. Single parents are so many. And when we talk of single parents, the family values, the family circle is broken. There is no father figure. A girl gets married, gets 2 children, divorced, is left, gets married again, gets 2 children, divorced. The woman at 35 years of age has 4 children. She's still a young girl, and she's a mother. And her daughter, again, gets married at 15, gets pregnant at 15. She's already a grandmother. So we are having children bearing children, which is a disaster. The crime rate was very high. And we decided to use the faith component. What we discovered is spiritual nourishment had gone down. Our children were behaving like animals. The parents themselves were behaving like animals. The easiest way was to join extremism. In extremism, you don't need an education. You don't even need an ID card, which was very hard to get, coming from border counties. And you are promised heaven. In my county, we had over 300 youths. I think it might even be 600 because some parents never went to report that the children were missing because of harassment from the government. But the ones we know are over 300 who had joined extremism. And that is not good. As a mother, I give birth for my children to help me, and not for my child to go and join an extremist group and kill people. As a mother, my children are my hope. My children are my foundation. As a mother, I am a mother to my children, but who's the mother of nature? We keep destroying the nature. The nature is crying out for a mother. And we have to teach our children to be mothers to the nature. My foundation, with the help of Zayed, I really thank Zayed, we had reached the end. I was praying, God give me a way to help these youths. The youths were in conflict with the law. The police were looking them. Getting a 14-year-old gunned down. That youth should be in school. The system had failed them. Society had failed them. Religious leaders have failed these youths. When I got this award, I used the money to transform them. I have transformed over 10,000 youths. They are now peace builders in my community. They are now taking care of the nature. I'm here, but they're doing tremendous work in my county. I was recognized by my president and given a heroine's badge by reducing crime by 45%, by using dialogue only. We cannot go the hard approach. We have to go to the soft approach. We have to talk to each other. We have to understand one another. As interfaith, my pain and the pain of a mother who's a Christian is the same. I don't get a lesser pain because I'm a Muslim. She does not get lesser pain because she's a Christian. And that's why faith is very, very important. Terrorism affects us all, irrespective your religious, your social status. The climate nature affects us all. Where there are homed now, Muslims and Christians sleep on the same ground. The nature does not decide I'm a Muslim, so you will not be affected. We have to do this together. We have to work together. We have to take care of our nature so that it can take care of us. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I mean, they're telling me that the time is over. I think we can still, I can go on and on and on, but this was a very great ending. I mean, I had way more questions for you, Judge Abdelsalam and Adama, but I think we can all agree that this was a great ending to our discussion. As a mother, thank you. Thank you.